The apocalypse is here, ladies and gentlemen, and so is my breakdown of American Horror Story, Apocalypse. Sorry it's taken a few days to get this out, but I was busy finishing my Castle Rock Explained series, but enough about that. We're here for the end of the world, so let's get into it. Socialite Coco St. Pierre Vanderbilt is getting her hair done by famous hairstylist Mr. Gallant, or as the French say, Gallant. In fact, she even says he could be the next Chris McMillan, which, for those of you who aren't on the Rodeo Drive socialite scene, is a famous real-life Hollywood stylist. Also huge points for the makeup artist who even put glitter on Evan Peters' fingernails. Mallory, played here by Billie Lourd, Carrie Fisher's daughter, is Coco's assistant who really wants Coco to have her finely pressed juice because they're so in right now. But then something even worse than a bad haircut happens. A ballistic missile is inbound for LA. Coco's billionaire father calls and informs her he has 4 spots reserved for the family in the event of a nuclear fallout. But because he's in Hong Kong, he and the fam won't make it. The signal goes out after what can only be assumed is a nuclear bomb hitting the city. Coco's boyfriend, played here by Billy on the Street, is at work busy preparing a 6-part limited series of Free Willy. Numerous international strikes have been confirmed, and Coco tells him to meet her at the airport. Mr. Gallant comes to get his Nana Evie, a widow of a former MGM studio owner. She tells him it's all fake news.
You are fake news.
And that she'll bring the burnt champagne, which for you non-millionaire widows of major Hollywood studios means a bottle of champagne that was frozen at one point and lost some of its prestige, kind of like Nana Evie herself. Coco says she'll give Mallory her brother's tickets and she needs her assistant. She's helpless without her, and Mallory completely ditches her family and agrees to go. These dudes have apparently decided it's a great time to steal some fruit, before somebody's body comes crashing onto the car. Team Coco arrives at the airport, and I love how these dudes are casually just doing their jobs even though the world is ending. That's commitment. The driver here has some sweet Mad Max gloves, and I gotta say, he's pretty badass. Mr. Gallant rolls up with Nana Evie and begs her to let them on. After all, who's gonna do her hair when the world ends? The airport workers then decide to turn on them, coming for the plane. Jason Statham over here fights them off as Coco releases Brock from his monogamy arrangement, and they escape from the ravaging horde. And can we all just have a moment of silence for this woman who tried to steal some meat? Brock sees Coco's plane fly overhead as he leaves her with some parting words of love. I wouldn't be surprised if we see this character make a return later on in the series. In the plane, Mallory checks to see where they're going, but the pilots are gone, and even worse, the stewardess. A bomb blast goes off, and for a brief moment you can see the plane automatically adjust, suggesting it's an automatic plane or a mysterious force controlling it. Flashback 40 minutes before the bomb, and we're introduced to Timmy, who's eagerly awaiting his results from UCLA. And he gets in. Way to go, Timmy. And did you catch American Horror Story Easter egg of Pepper being one of the male recipients? Then Dad comes in being a total buzzkill, explaining it's World War III, but before they can think of a plan, 2 agents from the cooperative storm in, explaining that Timothy has been selected to survive because of his exceptional genetic makeup. This video has been sponsored by Ancestry DNA. He refuses to go when he's forcibly taken by super soldiers and locked in an underground bunker. There he meets Emily before the bomb goes off. Apparently his super genetics make him susceptible to crying. 2 weeks later, they're taken to Outpost 3, one of 10 around the world built in minimal fallout zones, which is a bit odd since if they were built in minimal fallout zones, they would A, either have known where the bombs were to hit beforehand, or B, built them really fast, which we'll find out later they didn't. Timmy and Emily are given hazmat suits and dropped off before being greeted by the welcoming committee. Kylo Ren leads them across a field where they see 2 people dressed in Amish clothing pleading that they won't do it again before being shot. The masks these guys wear are eerily similar to the plague doctor masks from medieval times. The extended noses were used to stuff herbs and spices to ward off miasma, the belief that disease was spread through the air. Down in the bunker, they're decontaminated, and we catch a brief glimpse of Kathy Bates' character, Meade, who we'll later learn is the head of security for the bunker. Sarah Paulson arrives playing Wilhelmina Venable and welcomes them to Outpost 3. Her last name sounding a lot like Venerable, which is a common epithet used in Christian theology to denote someone who should be given respect based on their age, character, or wisdom. She says the bomb was a cleansing fire and that this is a new beginning. The Cooperative, the organization in charge of putting this all together, is a collection of the dozen greatest minds mankind has to offer. The 12 are known as the Visionaries, and my guess is we'll get to meet some of them later on. There aren't any any generators down here, but there is some form of electricity considering the key card used to get in and the elevator. Timmy and Emily are told they're purples and assigned their own suites. Purples are elite, the worthy, chosen to survive, unlike the Greys who are the worker ants, and the outpost itself is even designed like an anthill with multiple winding pathways. Emily asks what Wilhelmina's role is in all of this, to which she responds, she's the strong right arm of the cooperative, and down here, there are rules. They aren't allowed to leave due to the risk of cankerpus monsters, and worst of all, no unauthorized copulation of any kind, which was what these two were apparently doing. Timmy takes a shower when he sees 666 in the condensation. A voice whispers, "Beware Timothy." Now this is a huge loose thread because we don't come back to either of these by the end of the episode. In time for cocktails, it looks like they're wearing attire from the 1800s South, which leads me to believe they're somewhere in Louisiana, which would tie into Season 3's Coven. Mr. Gallant complains about the same song being played every night, calling occupants of interplanetary craft by the Carpenters, a song about telepathy and reaching out to other worlds. Mallory has been relegated to a gray and pleads to Coco for her to go to Venable and make her a purple. Venable rings a bell indicating their delicious cube dinners are ready, each cube containing every vitamin they need, and Coco ain't having it. She wants real food, like pirate's booty. Venable puts her in her place and explains the gravity of the situation. They only have 18 months of nutrition stocked, and if they want to survive, they need to ration carefully. Not to mention there's been a perimeter alert. Something penetrated the ground. A carrier pigeon with a message from their benefactors. 3 out of the 10 outposts have been overrun. They're the last of humanity, the last vestiges of civilized life. Meade is informed by Mrs. Lurch that there's a spike in contamination coming from the room. Someone has broken the clean rule. The Geiger counter, a machine used to detect radiation, identifies the culprits, Mr. Gallant and Stu. They're sent to the decontamination showers where Stu is shot because his levels are too high. At night, Miss Venable and Meade hold a secret meeting where they break their own rules by wearing purple outfits. Venable says they're the only ones that matter, and we learn Stu was set up. Meade put the counter to a higher sensitivity. This was either to keep them in control or to thin the herd. They play an old 1940s Whitman set of Old Maid, a Victorian card game for 2 or more players, probably deriving from an ancient gambling game in which the loser pays for the drinks. The drinks here being mineral water. They both relish the pain they cause their captives and how they're undermining the cooperative by making up their own rules. Venable says there is no cooperative, it's only them, which doesn't necessarily mean the cooperative doesn't exist, it just means they've gone rogue. The others are still getting over the death of Stu when Venable arrives. As a consolation, she's prepared a bonbouche, a French word for treat. Another hint this could be taking place in the South. Apparently they have resources for special occasions. Venable uses this occasion to stress how it's important to follow the rules, for everyone's safety. Gallant takes out what looks like a tooth before everyone realizes that the stew they're eating is, well, stew. The group argues whether or not the food was actually stew when the radio changes to Maureen McGovern's morning after, believing the cooperative is saying, "Hang on, we're coming for you." That is until 18 months pass, and if you recall, that's how long their supplies would last. No one has come and nuclear winter has taken over. Timmy and Emily are together, stating that even in all this death something was born, which could mean they broke a rule and a baby is on the way, or simply that their love was born. Venable cuts back supplies, stating they'll need to go to half a cube a day if they want to survive. Mutiny kicks in with Mallory stating, "I say we take our chances outside." Since when do they let a Grey talk? Mr. Gallant is about to be put in his place by Mrs. Lurch when the alarm goes off, indicating a perimeter breach. A horse-drawn carriage arrives with a member of the cooperative, Michael Langdon. And you know this guy means business because his badge says unlimited clearance. But look here at the signature for President of the Cooperative. It looks eerily like the word Lucifer, and his ID number ends in 666, the same number found in Timmy's shower and the number of the devil. Inside we get our first look of Michael Langdon, who looks like he just came off the set of Interview with a Vampire, which, coincidentally enough, is also partly set in Louisiana. Meade kills one of the horses because it's contaminated, and we get our first brief glimpse of what could be the pus monsters taking its corpse into the woods to be eaten. Back in the bunker, Langdon tells Venable that 3 more outposts have been overrun, and 3 won't make it until the end of the year, leaving their outpost as the only one left. But he's here to change that. There's another facility, an impregnable sanctuary with enough food for a decade, but it's reserved only for those worthy of survival. He's here to weed out the worthy, which could mean next episode could be a bloodbath. I hope you'll stay tuned with me for more AHS breakdowns, and remember, until next time, Daddy loves you very much.